Hey guys, so I'm actually going to be showing you a quick video guide here on how to install Django if either you weren't around and don't know how to actually set up from scratch, or if you currently do have problems with installing Django. So in fact, I have a guide and it shows how to sort of go through PyCharm and installing a package for your Python interpreter, which is the most important part of Python programming, because whenever you type your Python source code, you're going to be passing it through this interpreter and everything works out fine. So when you choose that, you can add in packages like Python, like Django, and you can of course get all set up for server-side development. So in case you don't have Django, I'm going to open up this command prompt here. So command prompt is called this thing like terminal in other operating systems. If you don't know what either terminal or command prompt are, think of them as sort of a text-based operating system rather than like the Windows or Mac or Linux, whatever, all these visual-based operating systems. So what you're about to see is, in one sense, kind of how the old way of working with computers is. So I opened up 2 by accident. So alright, so if you can hopefully see this, right, what you're able to see is, of course, it says command prompt. That's grand. Have that open. And what you can currently see is it says C drive, C, then :users/Dave. So this is where my command prompt will automatically open to. Now, in order to actually work with the command prompt, if you wanted to just use cd, if you wanted to change directories, we'll be using that in a bit. And also dir, which is used for checking files and folders within your directory. So in order to install Django on your computer, there's actually an easy way to do it without using PyCharm. And if for some reason can't get PyCharm, which is a very unfortunate thing, as it just makes it a lot easier with your Python development, you can use this very command that I want to show you. So there's this program that comes with Python called pip. Now, pip is a way that simply just allows you to install packages through the command line for Python. Right? I haven't really used it for any other purposes other than to get Python packages. So if you're looking for things like Java or C, these other programming languages, don't worry. So I'm going to show you a quick command using pip, which is install and Django. So this command is really simple. Once you run that, it sort of installs Django. In my case, I already actually have it. So at some point, it's going to say a command saying, look, you already have Django. But if you don't already have Django, it'll go through a few lines with these sort of loading bar type icons, which will download Django from pip's servers. So there's like these few servers, as you might know, from my client server model even. And it'll show you, well, it's not show you, but it'll store all these Python packages. Since I mentioned Django, it'll look for Django, get it, and it'll bring it to your computer, and you're good to go. Now, of course, for me it's taking time because my computer is really slow for me. Hey, here we go. So yeah, this is what I mean. I'm gonna lengthen this out, so yeah, because I don't want the O at the end and the bracket to be text wrapping, even though that's irrelevant to this. So since it says, hey, you already have Django, grand, but for you guys who don't have it, you'll get a completely different output. So that's generally what pip does. You can install Django, and of course I'm just press the up key to bring back the last command. So if you already have Django and either want to upgrade it, you can always just do -- upgrade, spell right. Again, if I didn't spell right, such irony. So I can simply run this command and it'll look for the latest version of Django. Sorry about that. And simply uninstall the current version and sort of then install the latest version. Now, if you want to install a specific version, you just do equals and specify the version. The latest version, to my knowledge, is 2.02. You can do it that way if you wanted to, but look, if you don't already have Django, just do pip install Django, and if you do already have it and want to upgrade it, just use the -- upgrade argument after Django. Otherwise, you can just say equals and the version number. So let that work away, and you should have Django added to your Python directory. And also, there's another little small configuration which can take place, and it's all about setting Django up into your environment variables, and we'll get onto that in a bit. If depending on if this next command works or not. So to test it, just say Django -admin. So it's like an extra small little thing that comes with it. It's like the admin side of Django, simply. And if you say version, and run that. So again, this one takes a bit of time, but eventually, as you can see, it says 202. And this, of course, simply states what my version is. So it's a fairly intuitive sort of thing. And as long as the version number comes back, you're good. If not, such as if it says immediate, it should say it immediately, where Django admin is not a recognized command. Now, if you do get that issue of where Django admin is not recognized, then you need to go to the whole environment variable process like I just mentioned a short while ago. So if you don't know how to, first of all, open this environment variable thing, which is, and I'll actually explain that what they are in a second. So if you just first of all open up your control panel, if my computer decides to actually speed up. Right, so eventually my control panel finally opened, and here we are. So if we look here, we have the system and security option. You want to click that, and then you have the option for system. Go ahead and select that, and then you'll get this screen. So this screen actually may just look similar to what you maybe have seen before, where it says your operating system, talks about your memory available, if you have a 32 or 64-bit operating system, all that. Easy enough. So on the left we have like device manager, remote settings, all that. You have advanced system settings. Click on that, and eventually, after some time, because again my computer's been kind of fairly slow, we have this system properties pop up. So right down the bottom here we have environment variables. Click on that, and of course we have two little kind of, there we go. Thought my thing wasn't responding for a second. So here we have user variables for my username on my computer and system variables. So what we want to do is click on the path, and you want to just click edit. Now, as you can see, my first two options are C:\Python36. This is where I have Python stored on my computer, and we have this one, which is Python 36 scripts. Now, if you are lucky, you should have the /scripts. If not, it might not be there. And if you're able to run a command that starts with Python, like we'll see in a moment, then you just need to go over here, click new, a new slot will be created, and you can just copy and paste. It's best to copy and then go into new and then paste, so you just so that the empty slot doesn't go away. You paste in your current Python directory into that new slot and just add on the \scripts. So it's an easy enough process to do, to be honest. Once that happens, just click OK, and then OK out of this one, so just more or less you're just clicking OK out of Windows. That's an easy thing to do. Now, when we're back here in the command prompt, you don't want to type it yet, because you actually need to restart your command prompt. Now, if you are actually using the terminal, which is of course the same thing as command prompt in PyCharm, then in case anything acts up, either close the terminal and open it back up, or you may have to restart PyCharm if it doesn't yet recognize it. So just in case, restart PyCharm if basically your command prompt doesn't recognize the command yet. So you want to exit out of command prompt, then simply then you basically want to open it again. Okay, and then you just simply type in the command again, and it should work. Now, if for any odd reason, after changing your environment variables and the command prompt still doesn't recognize the command, then you may have to restart your computer, but don't worry, look, it really shouldn't be that bad. Now, I know I showed you the Python directory that that you saw earlier when we had the command, the environment variables up. And if you don't actually know where the location is, this is where PyCharm comes in handy. Now, if you don't have PyCharm and still want to know the location, it's kind of a little tough. You're going to have to do a lot of manual work, because the way PyCharm is it actually knows the location of your interpreter, but if not, then it's a bit more harder. But look, so I'm just clicking to my C drive, and right here, if you can see it, it's between program data and system.sav. I have a folder here called Python36. I open that, and of course here it has Python. So this is the main Python interpreter that helps you run your Python code. And earlier I talked about a folder called scripts. So if you go into that, we have here an application which is called Django-admin, and this here is the command we'll be using in order to run our Django admin commands, more or less. Now, basically, as long as you actually can use, as long as you are aware of the Python's location, great, you can add that in. If not, then yes, it's awkward. Now, I will show another potential location. Now, this does require you to change your hidden items to visible. And if you're wondering what I'm on about, so I'm going to go back into my C drive, and I'm going to go to users, and I'm going to go into my my name. There's actually an example with default. If you paid attention to the icon, don't worry if you didn't. I need to find the next bit. So here, between these folders, 3D objects and C-line projects, you have this folder called app data. Now, as you might notice, it may or may not be completely clear, but the icon for this is actually a slight bit faded. It's a bit of a more faded looking icon. And if you go on to home, in my case, see if I can find the option, or it's under view. Yeah, here we are. So if you can see it near the top right in my screen, there's a tick for hidden items. If I click that, so now if we look back to 3D objects and Z-line projects, so right here, where, as you can see, I just had a folder called app data between them. That's what happens when you can't view your hidden files. So if you go back to view, tick hidden items, again, your folder's options layout may be a little bit different, but don't worry. So after showing my hidden items again, trying to I forget. Okay, here we are. So I found. So you have app data. You enter that. If you click on this folder called local, you go over to there, and scroll down to programs. Where is that? Good. So here, so you have a folder here called programs. Go in there. So in my case here, I have two folders, common and Python. Python is what we're looking for. And then here we have Python 36-32. And finally, after we enter this, we have lib and scripts. Now, in the case of it, there's a very high chance that if you follow that directory and the Python stuff, all the Python files we saw earlier with Python and scripts, and when you go into scripts, you have Django-admin. In this case, I may not have that. Okay, I do. Okay, no big deal. But basically, if you have your Python application in there, which allows you to run your Python apps, programs even, well, then this would be the general location if your directory contains app data. So again, if app data isn't visible through your user folder, then just enable hidden items to view, and you can find app data, go local, programs, Python 36-2. It could be a different number at the end of here. It'll be like Python and some number. and then you'll gain access to a folder here, which may look like, again, the Python file content in one sense of the Python when you download Python. And if you still don't know where it is, ask somebody, even mention on message around, and we could even help you out as best as possible. So once you eventually get Python and the Python scripts directories into your environment variables, you should be good to go. So what I'm going to show you now is I am going to show you a very simple example of how to use your Django-admin command. So in this case, I'm going to go to my documents. So as I mentioned, if you type in the letters CD, which is for change directory, we can go into documents, right, just like that. So CD in the name of a valid file folder, even of a valid folder in your current directory that will successfully change directory in command prompt. And we're going to do that again. I'm going to go to this folder. It's where I have all my Python stuff for showing you guys how to do things, whatnot. And then we're going to go to examples. So in here, if I do a dir, which is listing files, so it just gives some information about the drive and whatnot. Here we have like a few things like main.py, sample.py, all these different Python files. We're not going to worry about them. So I'm going to show you this command. I'm going to move my command prompt to the center and also scroll up. And I'm going to type in Django-admin, then start project, and in this case, coderdojo.py. And for the sake of it, oh geez, that may have just jumped my entire screen. Just scroll to fix that. And scroll up. Okay, so we see Django-admin start project coderdojo.py. So if we enter that, it'll take some time, and when it's done, it doesn't look like anything happens, as you can see, as I said. It just returns back to the same directory from earlier, but don't worry, look, it's actually it actually does its thing. We'll go back to documents, and if we scroll to Python lessons, that was perfect timing for the scroll. So we'll go into there, so you can see all the Python stuff that I am dealing with. Then I go to examples, and this is the folder that we just worked with for creating the Django project. So you see coderdojo.py. So we enter this, and we're going to actually see stuff properly in a while. And you see this Python file called manage, and you see this other Python, this other folder called coderdojo.py. We enter that, and it contains things like init, settings, URLs, and WSGI. And we're going to delve into that at a later time as to what those files are. So what we're now going to do is, if you have PyCharm, I'll show you quickly how to enter that. So if you click on Open in PyCharm, and you'll get this very different sort of open file sort of view. Of course, I'm right now waiting for everything to load up. Here we go. So if I scroll down to my users file folder, which I see my name in there, open that. And again, wait, because my computer tends to be slow. Not fun. Especially when I'm trying to show you exactly how to go through things, and here we go. So if we scroll down to, where is it? Documents. Okay, there we go. And scroll down again. Where is the folder? Here we are, Python lessons. And we have another folder here, examples. And here we have coderdojo.py. So you want to select your project. So even though we have two folders, you want to select the outer one. So the one that contains, so you have the two folders, coderdojo.py and coderdojo.py. You want to select the outer one, right? So the one basically that has the arrow furthest to the left of them, just in case, so you're not getting too confused. So we click OK, And as usual, like PyCharm is, as with most other IDEs, it'll take time. So again, look, if you can't install PyCharm for whatever reason, I will show you how to do, how to open your projects in a moment. So PyCharm basically is good because it allows you to open up things in a project-based way, and the whole command prompt thing that we have seen earlier, it allows us to more or less do all that within one application. Now PyCharm is currently completely in a bigger view, so once it's loaded, because it's still taking its time, I'm going to shrink it down a bit. Right, so if I can shrink down Python here, because it's taking its time with adjusting, which is annoying. Okay, shrink that down, and we get to the top here, or not. Of course, this decides not to respond in the middle of this guide, but look, hey. These sort of programs take a bit of time. And here we go. Okay. So I'm gonna move this view into place. So here we have our code.py. So if we can expand that, again, we have what we saw in the whole thing. So we have code.py inside that, and we have init, settings, URLs, WSGI, and manage. The one we're going to be focusing on for now is this one called manage. Now, the whole Django admin command you saw earlier, this actually does the same thing, but it's mainly for this project. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pop down here to the terminal icon. So it's a little bit out of view for you, so I'm going to need to adjust my IDE. So here you have terminal. So if we click on that, you bring up this, and if you can't get it, there's this little square icon that will bring up that little view. So here we have the terminal view within PyCharm. So I'm going to type in Python. If it'll decide to be fast for me or not. Here we go. So Python manage.py. So in case you don't know, we have to say Python first because that's the name of the interpreter, and then manage.py because we're referring to a Python file. If you just say the Python file, it's just going to show the contents. That's a bit useless unless we want to edit a Python file, which for now we don't. We want to actually use this file. And then we just type in run server. So in case you don't know, yes, Django has a built-in server, which this command runs so that we can actually check what our project looks like in our web browser. So if we enter, and just now waiting for it to process the command, there'll be a few lines shown. I'm going to point out one of these lines to you in a moment. Here we go. So it says run this to apply them. We'll be dealing with these things called migrations later on at some point. But the main line I want you to pay attention to is starting development server, and it gives this URL. Now, what we're looking at here is this thing called 127.0.0.1. Now, this is actually also known as what's called a local host, which is basically a server running on your computer. It doesn't have to be connected to an internet. You think of it as like internet on your computer and only accessible on your computer in most cases, unless you have server software that properly connects. I have one called Apache, but we'll be looking into that. We're looking mainly at the built-in Django server, and in one sense it's like access to the internet, but the only web pages you have are yours. And here you have 8,000. This is actually referring to a port number. Ports, I have a guide on those. Check that guide out, and you should be fine. So if we open up our web browser, so I'm going to open Firefox. Right, so now that Firefox has loaded up, we can now use that 127.0.0.1 thing to actually view what we're going to be seeing. Get the address bar to view. Okay, so as I said, there's this thing. So if you type in 127.0.0.1, or as I would prefer, another way of saying it is localhost. So 127.0.0.1 is the same thing. And if you type just after this 8,000, so we have localhost : 8,000. I hit enter. So see this. So as long as you get to see this view where it's like the sort of rocket ship, whatever, this is like the most recent version, and it tells you that your install works successfully. Great. You officially have your Django project first started, and you're good to go. So if you have any questions about anything I've covered, then don't forget to message me and ask me any questions you have. So hopefully you found this guide useful, more or less, and hopefully you've learned a lot. So good luck, and hopefully we'll see how we can get on with the further class in Django.